Alright, another one of the rarest weapons in Shadow of the Erdtree. Here's what people are saying about this weapon. Been farming for an hour with 300 plus discovery, just doesn't seem to drop. Says one poster on the wiki. Is anyone else just not getting a drop? Says another poster on the wiki. So what in the world is this weapon and is it worth getting? Well, in answer to the question, yes, this is absolutely worth getting because it's insane. This is a spear that scales primarily with strength, dex, and arcane. So if you love bleed and inflicting blood loss build up fast, you will love this weapon. It's also versatile as hell with a few different and very fun playstyles to try out. And we will dive into those right now. So if that sounds good to you, I would massively appreciate it if you help support this channel by sponsoring me over on patreon.com/gamingwithgriffin. So the weapon is called the Blood Fiend's Fork, and here's exactly where to get it. The Blood Fiend's Fork is dropped from the enemy called Blood Fiends. These are the big fat grotesque ogre guys, and my favourite place to farm them is here in the Stone Fissure. If you've not found this place yet, this place is underground and you can access it by going southwest after the Cerulean coast. So go down here, jump down the big hole you see, and you will eventually come to the Fissure Site of Grace. Once at this Site of Grace, head straight ahead and you will find a Blood Fiend about 10 seconds away. Now, these are very easy enemies to take out, but there's an even easier way to take these particular ones out, and that's by heading up the rocks to the left, because up here you'll find a sleeping Blood Fiend. All you have to do here is backstab them for massive damage, and a few more Blood Fiends are in the area, so farm these guys until the Blood Fiend's Fork drops. If it doesn't drop, fast travel back to the Site of Grace and repeat. Now, the Fissure is the best place I've found to farm this weapon due to the lack of backtracking and the abundance of Blood Fiends, but if you've not been here yet and you want a slightly earlier place you can farm them, you can also go to Talu's Forge Site of Grace. From here, go west until you reach the pond and you will find a bunch of Blood Fiends. But either way, these are both very good locations to farm the Blood Fiend's Fork in. This weapon, as mentioned, has a minuscule 3% drop rate, which explains why so many Elden Ring players are struggling to find it. But to make sure your chances increase, here are 3 things you can do. Consume a silver pickled fowlfoot, and that will raise your item discovery, and also consume a silver horn tender. Both of these items will stack and raise your discovery. Also, make sure to wear your silver scarab talisman, and that will raise your item discovery further. Finally, increase the level of your arcane. Not only will this raise item discovery, but the higher your arcane, the better the Blood Fiend's Fork will actually perform, so it's really good for this particular circumstance. Doing all of these will ensure your item discovery is at its maximum. And with all that done, let's go back and try again. And here we have it, the Blood Fiend's Fork. According to the description of this weapon, this is a weapon used by the Blood Fiends. 3 tines of carved bone spear the victim to provoke blood loss. A ritual implement for blood offerings to the Formless Mother. At times, the Blood Fiends will spill even their own blood using these forks. So according to the description, this thing is made for making blood and making things bleed. Now, firstly, let me tell you that it's never been a better time to get this weapon, because as of patch 1.13, which released July 30th, 2024, the dual-wield attacks of all spears have increased poise damage, meaning you have more chance of breaking your enemy's poise and causing them to stagger. Now, you can probably guess what sort of weapon this is from that alone. It's a weapon that excels at poking over and over in quick succession to interrupt your enemy. From there, you can stun them and finish them off, all while inflicting blood loss to drain your opponent's health. A very deadly weapon. So how do we optimize our build to make the most from the Blood Fiend's Fork? Firstly, I recommend leveling up to at least 60 Faith and 30 Arcane. This is because these are the main attributes the weapon scales with. Next, head on over to your friend the Blacksmith and upgrade this weapon as high as you can with the smithing stones. I mean, that's a bit of a no-brainer. Obviously, the more you level up your weapon, the better it will be, but something that's a bit less of a brainer is how do we want to infuse it and what Ashes of War do we want to slap on it? Well, there are a few options here, so I'll walk you through them one by one, starting with my favorite one. This is the Occult Infusion. The reason for this and the reason I like this is because the spear has a very nice bleed up up effect when occult infused. I also like to slap spinning strikes on there as the Ash of War. This is the attack where you spin in a circle while spinning your blade around, and as long as you have stamina, you can keep this going as long as you want. Talisman wise, we want the usual bleed ones, so Rotten Winged Sword and Lord of Blood Exaltation, plus Millicent's Prothesis and the Shard of Alexander. Now get a Crimson Sapping Crystal Tear on the go in your Physic Flask to finish off. And that is our first build. A plus 25 Occult Blood Fiend's Fork will melt most enemies because the bleed build-up is insane, and that's even without the talismans. And that's just with one of these blades. If you were going even crazier and want to go for a different spin on the Blood Fiend's Fork, try farming a second one and power stancing them. Again, go Occult Infusion at the blacksmith and level it up to 25 if you can. And let's get a little crazy here, because what we'll do instead of the spinning strikes is add Seppuku to one of the blades. This massively amps up your bleed damage at the cost of some health, but I'm hoping at this point in the game your health bar is more than long enough to take the hits. And the reward is definitely worth it. As you can see, this thing absolutely shreds. Or I should say these things. Seppuku on one blade and another Ash of War of your choice on the other. I've got Blood Tax here on the other one, which is another skill that's good for bleed builds. Now, if you're not that comfortable in your power stancing skills and prefer to rely on a little defense, slot a Great Shield in your other hand and just poke out your spear from almost complete safety. A shield I like for this job is the Fingerprint Shield. Tank all the damage from attackers and fight back during their attack for a very fun way to play Elden Ring. I love this because unlike a sword and shield build, you don't have to whip out the shield, block and wait for your enemy to finish attacking then attack back. With a spear you can poke and block simultaneously. Great fun, massively entertaining, but slightly cheesy, so you might feel a bit like you need a shower. But wait, there's a completely different way we can use the Blood Fiend's Fork apart from these methods, and that is for poison. To do this, first make sure you have an Occult Infusion once again. Now get a dagger in your other hand and make sure it has an A in Arcane. I'm using this one, but anyone with an A in Arcane will do. Now put the Poison Mist Ash of War on your Blood Fiend's Fork and this one on your dagger. The ensuing Poison Mist will deal massive damage as well as massive poison build-up provided you get close enough. That is the one downside of this build, you do have to get quite close in order for it to work. Now I don't often use poison builds because I do prefer to go all out on attack damage, but it does have its uses. It's a good play style if you like to play in co-op because you can inflict poison on an enemy, then back off while your teammates step in, safe in the knowledge your enemy's health is slowly going down thanks to your handiwork. This is particularly useful against bosses. Head on in there, do your poison stuff, and step back. And if we're going the full poison route, there are a few things you can do to boost your poison skills. One of these is wearing the mushroom helm. I love this helm. I mean, not in terms of looks, it looks hideous, but it's got a great functionality. And another is whacking on these talismans. These will optimize your poisonous talents to their maximum potential. Other fun things you can do randomly with your Blood Fiend's Fork, try the Spectral Lance. With this, it basically becomes a long-range build. Very, very fun. Phantom Slash is also good, and here's what that looks like. Anyway, that's the Blood Fiend's Fork. A spear that's incredibly rare with just a 3% drop rate, but one that's definitely worth getting. And I love that there are a few things you can do with this weapon, whether it's power stancing, shield and poking, or using faith skills from distance. All in all, a very good weapon to add to your collection. Anyway, thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more Elden Ring guides.